Hello and welcome to the Trempealeau County Sheriff's Update. I'm your host Kevin Bargender, and today I'm joined by Sheriff Brett Semingson. Welcome, Brett.
Well, welcome to, or thank you for having me here today with you. I'm looking forward to talking about some of our events going on.
Yeah, so kind of give me some recent updates that have been going on with the Sheriff's Department.
Well, the first thing I'll talk about is this week is National Telecommunicators Week, so we've been celebrating that to some extent with our dispatch center. We also do the same thing for Law Enforcement Appreciation Week in May, and National Correction Officers Week in May. And it's just a time where we can celebrate the staff and for all their hard work that they do for the Sheriff's Office and for the community to give them a little recognition. We notice on Facebook and in the news articles, people are all saying positive things for those who are in those important positions. And it's just a little time for them to, take in some of the comments and attaboys that the people give them for all their work throughout the year. So we got that going on. We're kind of getting ramped up and getting our dispatch center moved into the new building. Most of you know that we moved into the Sheriff's Office in February of last year. Well, excuse me, January. The jail moved in February, but we have yet to move the dispatch center over here because of some delays in getting equipment and phone lines stuff done through various vendors. We were lucky enough to receive a grant back in October of 2023 to completely upgrade our 911 system, and we also had some money pledged towards upgrading the radio system in the dispatch center, and all that equipment is here, but it took time to coordinate getting the phone line plowed into the new building, and luckily we're able to finally start moving forward, and hopefully by the end of May our new dispatch center will be up and running. And again, that'll be some exciting times for our dispatchers as well, because they'll be moving into a much more functional building or room for that type of a setting. So some other things going on with the opening of our new jail. We built this for a 50-year solution, but our current needs are much less than what we anticipate them to be in 50 years. And so we're housing about 45 to 50 of our own inmates in a jail that can actually house 76 up to 98 inmates. And so since May of last year, we've been housing inmates for another county. It's been right around 15 a month averaging. And now just recently I signed an agreement with another county to where we'll be up around 20 inmates from other counties in our jail, and that's at a revenue. Many people know that we've been spending $150,000 to $250,000 or more housing inmates out of county for the last 25, 30 years. This way it's a way to start recouping some of that before we are at that point where we need all those beds for our own people. We didn't build it to make money. We built it for the future. We have some space available right now that we could use it as a revenue generator. So it really makes sense to do that. So we're at capacity right now, but we're bringing back some of that money that we've been spending for many years. We're bringing it right back into our county again. So and staffing. Staffing is a big thing in law enforcement across the state and probably across the country. We've been constantly hiring jail staff and dispatch staff and patrol staff, and so have all the municipalities around us. They're all trying to hire police officers as well. So right now we're in the midst of finishing up 2 jail sergeants, getting them on board, and then as it stands, knock on wood, our jail will be fully staffed, and that'll be the first time in a couple of years. And we've been, out of 19 employees, we've been as low as 12 at times. So it's been a struggle, and I give a lot of credit to the staff that's been here all along and all the time they put in and all the extra hours, and that means time away from home as well. So it's been very draining on them, and so we're fortunate to be sitting pretty good in the jail. Dispatch the same. We've been trying to get 3 or 4 people for a few years, and and you get one hired, and then we go through field training, and maybe they don't make it through the training, or another one will leave for a different job in the meantime. So it's constantly going there too, and we're finally sitting in a good spot there as well. We're down to where we're going to be hiring one dispatcher now for an opening that'll be coming up in 2 weeks. So we're doing all right. But in the patrol side, now that's where we're struggling, because we've had a rash of retirements in the last few months. So we're going to be hiring 4 patrol deputies here in the next few weeks, and then there's going to be some promoting up the ladder as well. So we got some work to do there. And with the hiring of deputies, we're competing with all these municipal police departments that are trying to hire as well. And the pool is very shallow lately, and so there's going to be some challenges for all of us to get our patrol staff back up to where it's supposed to be. Those are kind of the more recent things that are going on within the sheriff's office.
Awesome. And for someone that's not real familiar with the sheriff's department, can you kind of explain what kind of makes them different than a municipality police department?
Sure. So the sheriff's office is responsible for more things than what a police department is. By constitution, the sheriff has to provide security to the courts. We have to serve civil process, which is subpoenas or writs of replevin, some of those legal documents like that are done through the courts. The sheriff is responsible for that service. The sheriff is responsible for search and recovery efforts within their county. We're responsible for crime prevention and traffic safety. We provide, in Trempealeau County, we provide the Public Safety Dispatch Center. And if you ever hear the term PSAP, that's commonly what they're referred to in the media as a public safety answering point. That's the dispatch center. So, and then also the sheriff is responsible for maintaining the safety and security of a jail. And there's only a couple of states in this country where there might be 1 or 2 counties that don't have their own jail. So almost every county in the United States has their own jail. And that is kind of that's because the Constitution says that the sheriff has to provide a jail. And it's just, to send all your inmates to another county and transport back and forth to court, it costs a lot of money, and there's some strategy involved there. And so for that reason, most jails are right next to the courthouses. So every county has their own jail. By Constitution, that's the sheriff's responsibility. So our traffic deputies not only do the traffic safety, but they answer the complaints. We answer complaints from people who live in rural Trempealeau County and people who live in the middle of the biggest cities in Trempealeau County. We service it all. There's nowhere in the Trempealeau County that the sheriff does not have jurisdiction and responsibility. So agents or cities and municipalities that have their own police departments, while we have jurisdiction there, we tend to let them take care of their own unless they need assistance from us. So
awesome. And the Sheriff's Department now has this new program called the Badges Program. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that as well?
Yes, that's been a very exciting program for us. 2 of my staff developed that program, and we did a drug education model that's recognized nationally for many years, but we realized that there's some influences and trends going on with our youth that aren't just alcohol. And a couple of those things are, the cell phone, and a child can, from age 5, can manipulate a cell phone better than a lot of parents. And there's so many hazards that come with that cell phone and the apps that they put on there, and there's sextortion is becoming one of them, and that's where young people are being manipulated or being led to believe that somebody on the other end is of the opposite sex, and they show interest, and before you know it, they're sending pics back and forth, and then come to find out it's actually a bad person on the other side. And once that picture is sent, then the person on the other side says, okay, you send me money or I'm going to send this picture out. And that's a very serious one going around right now. It's led to a number of suicides across the United States, and fortunately we haven't had it go to that extent here in Trempealeau County, but in recent months we've investigated 2 of those incidents. So we have that, and there, just the information that these kids can hide on their phones from parents, and that might not always be their intent, just to be a bad kid and hide things, but kids don't always want their parents to know what they're doing, even if it's on the up and up, so they can hide things on their phones. So we've transformed our drug education program into something that talks about the drugs and the alcohol and the vaping, but also the dangers of the cell phone and a lot of the other influences that are coming out and affecting our youth. And it's been a phenomenal program. Instead of 1 day a week for a semester in a handful of schools, we now have we're in every school in the county, and we spend 1 day in each of those schools, and it's all day, the whole day with that particular class. Usually it's a 5th grade class, and they bring in the sheriff or the police chief in whatever jurisdiction. We might have a sheriff from a neighboring county if the school districts overlap. My deputies, my sergeants will be there. We'll grill out, and we make it an all-day event where we're teaching the youth, but we're building that relationship with them as well and that trust. And it's really growing a lot. And now they've expanded it into a program that we've been doing in the evening for parents and caregivers. And we don't allow them to bring anybody under 18 because it's geared towards an adult audience. And we talk about the language even. We give examples of the language that these kids are seeing on the phone and how they're being trapped. And it's been an eye-opener for parents and caregivers. And we are just, we're getting to the point where it's going to be a lot of work for my staff because they're passionate about it. They want to get the message out there, and the more they do it, the more that are wanting them to do it. It's exponential. So for every one they do, there's 2 or 3 that see this and say, "Hey, can you come to our organization?" And so it's been a great thing. These guys did a great job developing that program, and this is the only county in the whole United States that does this model because we developed it, and we developed the material. It's all ours. It's catered to the youth right here in Trempealeau County. So.
Awesome. So it's not just towards the youth. It sounds like it's also towards the parents as well.
Yeah, we've been opening the eyes of some parents as to what's on these phones and what the capabilities are, and again, we're not saying that the youth are trying to be mischievous and get away with things. It's just, that I remember when I was a kid, I was secretive. I didn't want mom and dad to know everything I was doing, even though there was nothing wrong with it. I just didn't want them to know. And there's ways to keep that a secret. And I think we got to be careful about letting our youth have those types of things on that type of a device. Just because it's, it seems like any hacker can get into them. The pictures can get in the wrong hands so easily, and it's illegal to transmit a picture of a nude juvenile, and a lot of these juveniles don't understand that, and they're taking pictures of each other, and they're sending them, and they're without even knowing it, they're getting themselves into some serious trouble. So we're trying to educate and stop that before it happens as well.
And this is a fairly new program, right?
We've been doing badges this is our 2nd year that we're in the schools for a whole day. I think the first year that we started doing this, we were still doing it where it was just for 1 hour a week, 8 weeks a semester. Now we just do it all in 1 day at each school. So, but I think it's about 3 years, and it's been developing as we go too. What it is today is much more than what it was a year ago, and then even much more than a year before that. So, still in development.
And what has the reception been from the parents and students so far?
It's been phenomenal, really. It's been, like I said, it's been eye-opening. It's been concerning, and anybody that belongs to a church organization or a Lions Club, maybe a library board that have seen these, like I said, they've reached out and they want us to come back to their communities and do another presentation. We've had church, we've had the Lions Club. One presentation can target a lot of people from different audiences, and so we've gotten to a point where we got to start I guess, scheduling, being creative with our scheduling, because they still have their work to do within the office too. They're still investigators and they still have crime to investigate. Plus, we want to get our message out as well.
As far as like some recent events that you've hosted, can you tell me a little bit about that?
For as far as the badges goes?
Yes.
Or,
Yep.
So we've done one at the library in Trempealeau. We did one at the library in Arcadia. We did one at the library here in Whitehall. We did do an abbreviated type of version for a church group in Pigeon Falls. And basically it's the program's about an hour and a half long, maybe 2 hours. And it's a slide presentation with examples of what is being, what these kids can find on Snapchat and Instagram and just text messaging back and forth. AI, artificial intelligence now is really becoming front and center in faster than anything I've ever seen. We're talking about the dangers of AI. And I'll just mention that, if your face has ever been on the internet for any reason, or like today you and I are talking, our voices being broadcast out there, AI, people with bad intentions can grab this AI and get my likeness and get my voice and can create a video where it looks like I'm the one actually saying whatever they want me to say. And so we're telling the adults in the community that that's going on too, and that's kind of part of some of the scams that we're going to talk about here in just a second as well. So.
And are there some future events coming up as far as the badges program like this summer, or is it more during the school year?
So the what's in the school we do all in the first part of April or last part of April and first part of May. So over a couple week period, we take care of the schools. The evening programs could happen anytime during the year. So we kind of handle them as on a request basis. So.
All right, and then what are some kind of public service announcements that you have?
So a big one going on in our county right now is, you may, if you saw the newspaper article, or maybe you've heard me talk at different county board meetings, is we got a number of scams that are affecting our residents here in Trempealeau County, and then they've really become brazen. Scams used to be, give me your credit card number or give me your bank account information, but they've morphed into now where these scammers are hiring money couriers or couriers to actually go right to the house, and people are handing money to scammers right across their threshold, and it's significant. We just investigated one earlier this year where a person was told that the security of their bank was compromised, and that they should take all their money out of the bank and go buy gold bars, and we'll come to your house and get the gold bars and we'll secure them for you until the bank security is back up and running. And so this person took over $200,000 out of the bank account and purchased those gold bars and handed them to the courier that came to the door with that promise never to be seen again. We had one person that was victimized when he was told that his Amazon account was compromised, and that he needed to send $25,000 to a company to get this fixed. And the scammer sent a courier to the house, and they handed $25,000 cash across the door. Another one that's becoming popular, or has been around a little bit, but it's kind of rearing its ugly head again, is a person will get a call from somebody who says that they're their grandchild. They sound just like them, and that's because of this artificial intelligence. They can get this voice, and they say that I've been in a crash, or I've gotten in trouble, I'm in jail, I need this money, but I can't talk long now. Somebody will be calling you shortly to tell you how to get it to me. Hang up the phone. Wasn't long, a call is made to this person, and they believe that their grandchild was just involved in a crash, was in jail, and they handed $20,000 across the threshold of the door to a courier who came to the door. And then later the afternoon, it was arranged that they needed $40,000 more, and another $40,000 went across the door. So just beware. If somebody says they need money and they're coming to and they would come to the house to get it from you, if it's not your child or your significant other or somebody you don't trust, don't believe it. Don't do it. when they're walking up the driveway, if you don't recognize them, don't answer the door. And I would encourage anybody who gets these calls to call the sheriff's office immediately, because we know that they're sticking to their word and they're actually coming to the house to take the money. So we would be able to get ourselves in a position so when that time comes, we could be ready to take them down. So if you get calls like that where they want you to hand cash to them when they come to your house, please call us immediately, and then we can assist you through that, and hopefully we can make an arrest. Again, we're not getting the people who are doing the scams. We're getting the people who are actually running the money in between, but we're saving your money. And in the end, it's great if you can catch a perpetrator, but it's even better if you can prevent somebody from becoming a victim. So those are some of the scams that are going on right now. As always, the IRS will not call you and say you're going to be arrested if you don't pay your bill. That's a popular one. Your electric utility is not going to say you hand us the money across the threshold of your door, or we're going to disconnect you. They have other ways to work that around. And if you're wondering if it's legitimate, hang the phone up and call. Get your statement out, get your electrical statement out, or get your Amazon account out and call the number that's on that statement and ask for verification. And 9 times out of 10, or 99 out of 100, you're going to find out that the person you call and talk to has no idea what you're talking about, and it was a scam attempt. So that's a big one that's victimizing our residents now in Trempealeau County. So,
And a few other scams that I've seen too, the postal office scam. I've seen some toll scams. Is that stuff you see too?
Yes, absolutely. I've gotten the text messages that I owe a toll in a state that I haven't driven in, and so and this is a lot. I mean, when I say a lot, it's not just one or two. I watch Facebook and I see a lot of people comment how they got the text message today. The toll company called, and TOLL. They called and said that I owe a toll for driving over a certain road, and that's a scam. Again, even in the day, you don't have to stop and throw money in those change jugs anymore when you go through a toll booth. All I do is take a picture of your license plate. That's it. But it's your responsibility when you get home to go online to that state and pay the toll online. They are not going to call you or text you and tell you have to pay. If you forget to do it or you're delinquent, you will get a letter from them. And then there's verification processes that you can use to verify that letter is legitimate. And one big one is have you driven in that road? If you get a letter that you owe a toll for I-80 and you haven't been on I-80 in 15 years or ever, well, it's a scam. So.
Yeah, and you, like, I watch YouTube quite a bit, and I see some of the vigilante groups starting to pop up against these scams because they're just so sick of it, and there's like police and the sheriff's department can only do so much.
Yeah.
So you'll see these groups pop up, and how dangerous is it really to interact with these scammers, do you think?
Absolutely. There are some out there where they get you to answer the phone, and they'll ask you a question to which the answer is yes. And so you'll say yes, and then they'll record that, and then if they have access to your account, they'll be able to show that you gave consent because you said yes, even though it wasn't to the question that you thought it was. So it's better to don't answer the phone if you don't recognize the number, and don't respond to email and text message solicited scams. Nobody has a long lost relative in Nigeria that left millions of dollars to you even though you don't know who they are, and that's a popular email one. Send us $4,000, we'll set up a bank account, and once that happens, we'll deposit the rest of the money in there. And that's just, that's a scam. It's a red flag, and very few, if 1 out of a million maybe have that relative that they didn't know about. So if it seems too good to be true, it is.
Yes. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
So we have the badges program. I just want to get another little plug in there. Is that this is a program that it's an investigator whose wages are paid for on the tax roll, and they drive a squad car whose wages are paid for on a tax roll. They're already investigators with the sheriff's office. All additional expenses that are used to operate the badges program and our K-9 program, same thing, is from donations. So I just want to let everybody know that this is not a tax levied thing that we do, but we do rely on donations to provide this service. So another thing, there's some concerns going on. There's a couple municipalities in Trempealeau County now that are facing shortages of law enforcement officers, and some of them are at critical levels where people who live in those communities might be worried about whether or not they have police services. And I just want to assure everybody that, to the extent that I can with the staffing I have, the sheriff's office is still responsible for providing services to a community, even if they have their own police department, but happen to not have a person on duty at the time that you may need one. So, I just want to bring a little comfort to those communities that, even though you may think your police departments aren't able to help you out because they don't have enough people on staff, they're in the middle of hiring or whatever, we're still responsible for that. And, we may suffer in response times a little bit, but your complaint will be answered by the sheriff's office if you don't have a police officer on in that community. So I just wanted to make sure to let that word got out there, because it's happening to a number of communities in our county right now. So, but those are the big things. Traffic, we're on pace for one of the deadlier years in Trempealeau County. We had a traffic safety meeting, a regional traffic safety meeting this morning, and the state of Wisconsin is on track for a record year for fatalities. We can't put our finger on why, but just remind everybody, to keep your eyes on the road when you're driving. We highly encourage everybody to wear their seatbelts. You're far, far, far more likely to die in a crash if you don't have your seatbelt on than you are if you have your seatbelt on. And always watch what the other drivers are doing. I don't tell people to pay attention to their own driving as much as I tell people to pay attention to what other drivers are doing. Yesterday we had a wrong way driver on the interstate up by Eau Claire get involved in a crash. It was a fatal crash. So always be watching the road, watch ahead of you, pay attention to weather conditions, and do what you can to make yourself safe when you're traveling on the roads, because we can stop the trend right now, but we're on track to have a very bad year in Wisconsin and right here in Trempealeau County. Our yearly average is between 2 and 3, and we've already had 2 fatalities this year. So.
Yeah, and speaking of that trend, on 94, which is getting reconstructed, I noticed that they put up a sign that says aerial surveillance of the street or of the highway.
Yep.
Is that something that's due to the increase?
Yep. So the State Patrol has an airplane that they commonly fly out, and from that airplane, they can actually measure a vehicle's speed down on the highway. And just to be transparent, when you're driving down the highway in our county on Highway 93, you may notice a certain area where there's 5 or 6 thick white stripes painted perpendicular to the road, in the road. And that's for somebody flying an airplane to be able to see when a vehicle gets to that stripe. They measure how long it takes to get to the next stripe. They know the distance in between, and they can tell how fast you're going. So that's something that the State Patrol has been doing for many years. And when we did Highway 93 in Trempealeau County a few years back, we added that to ours. Now, we don't have an airplane, of course, but the State Patrol will come down and do a detail in our county. And the reason we did it on Highway 93 is because of all the complaints we get. Passing and no passing zones and speeding. And the sheriff's office has on a good day has 3 deputies on duty to cover the whole county. So it's difficult to be seen out there on Highway 93 all day long, every day. Every now and then we have somebody else come in and help us out. We participate in those. They bring other troopers in, and we'll spend a few hours doing speed measurement by airplane and try to slow people down, especially on 93, because that's where the marks are right now. So, but if everybody did their part and slowed down anyway, the crashes would be less, they'd be less severe, and the roads would be much safer.
And we might not even need, video surveillance from the air. So.
Correct. Yep. I'd love to ask you all if you had questions, but I'll say this: if you go to the Trempealeau County Sheriff's Office website, my email is there. You can send me an email for any reason you wish, any question you wish. There is no question that would be a dumb question, because if you think of it, somebody else is asking that very same question. So feel free to reach out to the sheriff's office. It doesn't have to be me. If you know a sheriff's deputy, ask the question, and we'll answer. We want to be as transparent as we can with you, and we don't always know what everybody wants to know unless they ask us. So.
And the Sheriff's Department's also on social media, correct?
Correct. Yep. We have our own Facebook page. Yeah.
Awesome. For Sheriff Brett Semingson, I'm your host, Kevin Bargender, and we'll see you next time on the Trempealeau County Sheriff's Update.